to get where you want to be, right, in any aspect of your life, whether it comes to, a body transformation, nutrition, fitness, career, relationships, you're going to have to finish strong. There's going to be challenges. There are going to be things in your way. There's going to be stuff that you're not sure you're going to want to tackle, but you're going to have to face it. You're going to have to face it maybe against all odds, and you're going to have to finish strong, right? Earlier, we talked about just finishing the race, and now I want you to finish the race with everything you got, okay? So I'm going to share a story about a real, true story about a guy who did just that and saved like 30 or 40 men's lives in the process. So August 1st, 1914, Earnest Shackelton and 28 members of his crew set out on an expedition to Antarctica, right? And their idea was to cross the Antarctic on foot, something that at this time had never been done before. Now, this guy, Ernest, was a successful and highly respected explorer who had conquered and explored Antarctica before, but had never completed this feat. So he took 28 men, right, who answered an ad placed in the London newspaper that read, "Men wanted for hazardous journeys, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return, very doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success." So 28 of, a couple thousand men who answered the call had enough guts to go out there and to take on this challenge with Ernest. So out they go, right, sailing on their ships, and 5 months into the expedition, their ship, called the Endurance, got stuck in heavy ice floe near the Antarctic. Now, this wasn't uncommon. Ernest wasn't worried about it, right? Ships typically get stuck periodically. So for the next 3 months, they hunkered down, right, and were trying to survive, hoping that one of these days the ice shifts would change or that it would break apart and they would once be free to continue on their journey. But after about 3.5 months, their ship, it was clear, had become frozen solid in the ice. Now, they're trying to dig it out. They're trying to break the ice. But they could see that it was not going the way that they wanted it to. So in February of 1915, the crew prepared, right, the ship to become their camp for the remainder of the winter. Then in October, right, 8 months after being stuck, the pressure of the ice on the ship ended up taking its toll and creating damage so that now, right, they had to abandon ship, salvage as many supplies as they possibly could, get the sled dogs, the food, the gear, the 3 lifeboats that they had, and they moved their camp to the ice floe right next to their ship, the Endurance. Now, temperatures were brutal, right? Reaching an average of below 15 degrees Fahrenheit. This expedition camped on the ice for 5 months straight. In April, right, the ice floe began to break apart, and Shackelton ordered the crew to take the essential supplies and to board the lifeboats because he could see that soon the ice was going to disappear and they would have no land to stand on. They traveled 7 days by sea in little lifeboats to what was called Elephant Island. Elephant Island was a barren place that was stranded, was made mostly of snow-covered rocks with temperatures now even worse, right? Averaging below 20 degrees Fahrenheit. They spent 9 months on this island, right? And all the while, the crew was optimistic, they were loyal, they were faithful to their leader's belief that they would all survive. And Ernest knew that the only way that they would get out of this situation would be on his ability to reach the whaling outpost that was 800 miles across the sea, which was one of the most treacherous seas in the world, and he would have to do it in a lifeboat. So he, decided that this is what he has to do if he wants to save his crew, if he wants all of us to return or all of them to return safely. He set out with 5 other crew members to make this journey, and the odds of getting there were 1 in 100. Nautical scholars now consider this journey that he made to be one of the greatest accomplishments in maritime history, right? And he ended up making it to the outpost, and he returned to Elephant Island with a rescue party, and 4 months later, they were back home telling their adventure about how they basically got stuck on this crazy ice patch. But that's not the end of it, right? So Remember, after 22 months, almost 2 years of being stranded, right, the crew was rescued. All 28 members of them survived. And when Shackleton landed on that whaling outpost, right, the one that he was heading to on that tiny little boat to save everybody, they ended up landing on the opposite side of that island, right? And him and his two companions had to hike over the mountain to reach the outpost in order to get the help that they needed. And they did this in 35 hours in sub-below zero without any equipment, or at least proper equipment. And they made their way over, right, in order to save everybody. And a few years ago, right, a different group, a crew, decided that they would take the same exact journey, at least from the one side of the island over the mountain to the outpost. And these people had all the gear that you could need. They had fancy, clothes to keep them warm. They had crampons, they had spikes, they had everything that they needed. And it took them 48 hours to retrace the steps of Ernest, almost 13 more hours than the trio did 90 years ago when they first did this. Now, that's finishing strong, right? Now, you might not be in those type of circumstances, but sometimes it might feel like it. Sometimes it might feel like all the odds are stacked against you. Everybody's trying to pull you in different directions or trying to tempt you, or things just aren't quite going your way, that you feel like you're hiking up this mountain and you're not sure if you're going to make it. But I'm telling you that you are so close to the finish line that it doesn't, that if you just keep pushing forward, if you just decide, what, despite everything else, if I just continue to do just one small thing every single day, I will eventually make it, and I will make it to the promised land, and this whole thing would be worth it, right? And remember, this isn't something that you can mess up. This isn't something that you go on or off of. This is a learning experience. I hate to break it to you, but you may never get it, right? You may never feel like you've reached the promised land, but I promise you that if you continue to practice, you're going to get better and better and better and better and better, and there's always going to be room to grow, but your life, your body, your mindset, everything's going to change, and it's going to be all worth it, right? So continue to push forward. We're in week 11. We are almost there, and I know you can do this, so let's make it to the finish line. Let's finish as strong as we possibly can, and let's get ready to celebrate together, because all of this hard work is worth it.